Welcome back to the channel Tech Quest Learning Point. I am here with a new episode of the series tutorial Create ASP.NET Web Application using C#. Today I am going to start the third episode named Working with Webforms Controls of this series tutorial. The agenda of this session will be number 1, Overview of Webforms Controls. ASP.NET Webforms controls provide a powerful way to build interactive web applications quickly and efficiently. Number 2, standard controls. Understanding the methods, properties, and events of the standard controls is crucial for working efficiently with ASP.NET Webforms. Number 3, data-bound controls. These controls enable developers to build robust user interfaces that display data efficiently while allowing for interaction and custom data processing. Number 4, navigation controls. Menu and tree view controls provide the rich functionality for organizing and navigating through applications and websites, enhancing the user experience. Number 5, user interface controls. These controls enhance the interactivity and usability of ASP.NET Webforms applications, enabling developers to create more responsive and organized web pages. Number 6, login controls. Understanding these controls and their methods, properties, and events is vital for implementing user authentication. With a small project using C# for back-end functionality, all topics will be easier to understand through the included code snippets, empowering each learner to become an efficient software developer with confidence, right? The script of tutorial in PDF is given in the description, okay? Prerequisite of this series tutorial. Before starting this tutorial, you need to have the basic foundation on C#. You may follow the tutorial Programming C# for Beginners, which is enough for making the foundation on C#. The link of the tutorial Programming C# for Beginners is given in the description box. Please subscribe and stay with us if you want to get the upcoming episode of the tutorial. Okay, let's start. Overview of Webforms controls. ASP.NET Webforms controls are server-side elements used to create interactive web applications. These controls allow developers to build complex user interfaces with less effort by encapsulating functionality into reusable components. Webforms controls are designed to manage state, handle events, and provide data binding capabilities. Categories of ASP.NET Webforms controls. Webforms controls can be categorized into several types. Number 1, standard controls. Label, Textbox, button, linked button, drop-down list, list box, checkbox, radio button, calendar. Number 2, data-bound controls. Grid view, list view, repeater, data list. Number 3, validation controls. Required field validator, range validator, regular expression validator, custom validator, validation summary. Number 4, navigation controls. Menu, site map path, tree view. Number 5, user interface controls. Panel, update panel, multi-view. 6, login controls. Login, create user wizard, change password, login status. Key features of Webforms controls. State management. Webforms controls automatically retain their state across postbacks, making it easier to manage user input and application state. Event handling. Controls have built-in events like click, selected indexes, etc. that can be wired to event handlers, enabling a responsive user interface. Data binding. Controls can easily bind to data sources like databases, collections, or XML, allowing for straightforward data display and manipulation. Extensibility. Developers can create custom controls by inheriting from existing controls or implementing interfaces, allowing for tailored functionality and appearance. Built-in validation. Validation controls enhance user experience by enforcing data rules and providing feedback without requiring custom coding. ASP.NET Webforms controls provide a powerful way to build interactive applications quickly and efficiently. By using these controls, developers can leverage built-in functionality for user input, data binding, state management, validation, and more, allowing for a rich user experience with minimal code. Understanding these controls and their capabilities is essential for effective ASP.NET Webforms development. Standard controls. In ASP.NET Webforms, each control such as a label, button, text box, and drop-down list has specific properties, methods, and events that enable developers to create interactive and responsive web applications. Let's give an overview of the key methods, properties, and events for each control. Number 1. Label control. Label control generally displays text on the pages. Properties. Text gets or sets the text display by the label control. Associated control ID gets or sets the ID of the control that this label is associated with, providing accessibility support. Visible gets or sets a value indicating whether the control is rendered on the page. Methods. Render overrides the render method to output the HTML content of the label control to the response stream. Events. Text changed. This event occurs when the text of the associated input control changes. However, the label control doesn't have direct user interaction, so this is typically not used. Have a look into example. Number 2. Button control. Button control triggers an event when clicked. Properties. Text gets or sets the text display on the button. Command name gets or sets the name of the command associated with the button. Command argument gets or sets the argument that is associated with the command. Causes validation gets or sets a value indicating whether the button causes validation to occur when clicked. Methods. Click. This is an event, not a method, but it can be associated with the method in the code behind that handles click events. Events. Click occurs when the button is clicked by the user. Command occurs when the button is clicked, and it is typically used when the button has a command name set. Example. Number 3. Textbox control. Textbox control accepts input from the user. Properties. Text gets or sets the text content of the text box. Text mode gets or sets the type of input, such as single line, multi-line, password, etc. Max length gets or sets the maximum number of characters that can be entered in the text box. Visible gets or sets a value indicating whether the control is rendered on the page. Methods. Render, similar to label, overrides the render method to output the HTML content. Events. Text changed occurs when the content of the text box changes and the text box loses focus if auto post back is enabled. Key press occurs when a key is pressed within the text box. Key up occurs when a key is released when the text box has focus. Example. Number 4. Drop-down list control. Drop-down list control presents a list of options for selection. Properties. Items gets a collection of list item objects representing the items in the drop-down list. Selected value gets or sets the value of the selected item in the drop-down list. Selected item gets the currently selected item. Enabled gets or sets a value that indicates whether the drop-down list can respond to user interaction. Methods. Data bind binds a data source to drop-down list control. Add adds a new list item to drop-down list. Events. Selected index changed occurs when the selected item changes in the drop-down list. This event can be handled to perform actions based on the selection. Data binding occurs when the data changes for the control. Example. Understanding the methods, properties, and events of these controls is crucial for working effectively with ASP.NET webforms. These elements allow developers to create dynamic and responsive interfaces that react to user inputs, perform data validations, and provide user feedback efficiently. The example snippets illustrate how these controls can be set up and integrated within a webform. Data-bound controls. In ASP.NET webforms, the GridView, ListView, and repeater controls are used to display data in the various formats, allowing for customization and flexibility. Let's give an overview of the key methods, properties, and events associated with each of these data-bound controls. GridView control. GridView control is ideal for displaying tabular data with features like sorting, paging, editing. It is more feature-rich compared to the other two. Properties. Data source gets or sets the data source for the GridView control. Auto-generate columns gets or sets a value indicating whether columns are automatically generated from the data source. Columns gets a collection of the columns defined in the GridView. Selected index gets the index of the currently selected row. Page size gets or sets the number of rows to display on a single page. Allow paging gets or sets a value that indicates whether paging is enabled. Methods. Data bind binds the data source to a GridView control, enabling it to display the data. Find control. String ID searches for a server control with specified ID in the GridView. Events. Row command occurs when a button is clicked in a row. Row data bound occurs when the data row is bound to the GridView control. Selected index changed occurs when a different row is selected. Page index changing occurs when the page index is changed before the page has changed. Page index changed occurs after the page index has been changed. Example. Number 2. List view control. List view control is flexible and customizable for displaying data in various layouts with templates, supports grouping and advanced data presentations. Properties. Data source gets or sets data source for the list view control. Item template gets or sets template used to display the items. Group item template gets or sets the template used to display grouped items. Layout template gets or sets the template used for the overall layout of the list view. Enable paging gets or sets a value indicating whether paging is enabled. Page size gets or sets the number of items to display per page. Methods. Data bind binds the data source to the list view control. Find control string ID searches for a server control with the specified ID. Events. Item data bound occurs when an item is bound to the list view, allowing for custom processing. Item command occurs when a button within an item is clicked. Page properties changing occurs when page properties are changing prior to new page being displayed. Page properties changed occurs after the page properties have changed. Example: repeater. Number 3, repeater control. Repeater control is a lightweight control for displaying items without built-in functionality, offering full control over HTML markup via templates. Properties. Data source gets or sets the data source for the repeater control. Item template gets or sets the template used to display each item within the repeater. Header template gets or sets the template used for the header of the repeater. Footer template gets or sets the template used for the footer of the repeater. Methods. Data bind binds the data source to repeater control. Find controls string ID searches for a server control with the specified ID. Events. Item command occurs when a button within the item is clicked. Item data bound occurs when an item is bound to the repeater, allowing for handling individual item binding. Example: these controls enable developers to build robust user interfaces that display data efficiently while allowing for interaction and custom data processing. Understanding the properties, methods, and events of each control is essential for building effective ASP.NET Web Forms applications. Navigation controls. In ASP.NET Web Forms, the menu and tree view controls are used for navigation and organizing hierarchical data. Let's give a detailed overview of the methods, properties, and events associated with each of these controls. Number 1. Menu control. A flexible way to create navigation menus for web applications. It supports various styles, orientations, and can be bound to a data source for dynamic content. The user can trigger navigation by clicking on items. Properties. Items gets a collection of menu item objects that represent the items of the menu control. Orientation gets or sets the orientation of the menu control, horizontal or vertical. Static sub-menu style gets or sets the style for static sub-menus, including properties like background color, padding, etc. Dynamic menu style gets or sets the style for dynamic menus that pop up on hover or click. Data source gets or sets the data source for populating the menu typically used with the binding. CSS class gets or sets the CSS class applied to the menu control methods. Methods. Data bind binds the data source to menu control. Find item string value searches for a menu item with a specified value and returns it. Events. Menu item data bound occurs when a menu item is bound to data, allowing customization of the item's properties. Menu item click occurs when a menu item is clicked by the user. Example: number 2, tree view control. Tree view control is an ideal for displaying hierarchical data and allowing users to expand and collapse groups of items. It can also be bound to data source and provides intuitive navigation and item selection options. Properties. Nodes gets a collection of tree node of objects representing the root nodes of the tree view. Show, expand, collapse gets or sets a value indicating whether to display expand and collapse icons. Root node style gets the style settings for the root node. Node style gets the style settings for all nodes. Expand depth gets or sets the depth up to which the nodes are expanded when the tree view is rendered. Data source gets or sets the data source for the tree view similar to the menu control. Methods. Data bind binds the data source to the tree view control. Find node string path searches for a node by its specified path and returns the tree node instance. Events. Tree node data bound occurs when a tree node is bound to data useful for customizing node properties. Tree node expanded occurs when a tree node is expanded by the user. Tree node collapsed occurs when a tree node is collapsed by the user. Tree node click occurs when a tree node is clicked. Example: both controls provide rich functionality for optimizing, organizing, and navigating through applications and websites, enhancing the user experience. Understanding how to work with their properties, methods, and events is essential for effective ASP.NET Web Forms development. User interface controls. In ASP.NET Web Forms, the panel, update panel, and multi-view controls provide ways to organize and update user interface elements on a web page. Below is an overview of each control, including their properties, methods, and events. Panel control. The panel control is a container that can hold other server controls, allowing for grouping of related controls. It can be used to create visual structures in a web page. It provides a simple way to group related controls and style them. It can enhance UI organization and layout. Properties. Controls gets a collection of controls contained in the panel. CSS class gets or sets the CSS class applied to the panel. Visible gets or sets a value indicating whether the panel is rendered on the page. Width height gets or sets the height and width of the panel. Back color gets or sets the back color of the panel. Border style gets or sets the style of the panel's border. Methods. Find control string ID searches the panel's control tree for a specified control by its ID. Events. Load. This event occurs when the panel is loaded, allowing for customer logic before rendering. Pre-render. This event occurs just before the panel is rendered, allowing for final adjustments. Example: number 2, update panel control. The update panel control is used to create asynchronous postbacks, allowing portions of a page to be updated without refreshing the entire page. This is commonly known as AJAX. This enables partial page updates using AJAX techniques, improving user experience by reducing full page refreshness. Properties. Current template. The template segment for content that can be updated. Children as triggers. Gets or sets a value indicating whether child controls can trigger updates. Update mode. Gets or sets the update mode for the panel. As for example, always conditional. Triggers. A collection of triggers that define how the panel should respond to events from other controls. Visible. Gets or sets a value indicating whether the update panel is rendered. Methods. Data bind. Binds the data source to update panel. Events. Load. Occurs when the update panel is loaded. Pre-rendered. Occurs just before the update panel is rendered. Example. Multi-view control. The multi-view control is used to display multi-views, of which only one can be visible at a time. This is useful for creating wizard-like interfaces or to toggle between different sets of controls. It offers a way to manage multi-views or sets of controls, allowing the user to switch between them dynamically. Properties. Active view index. Gets or sets the index of the currently active view. Views. Gets a collection of view objects that represent the different views. Visible. Gets or sets a value indicating whether the multi-view is rendered. Methods. Add view. View. Adds a new view to the multi-view. Find control. String ID. Searches the multi-views control tree for a specified control by its ID. Events. Active view changed occurs when the active view changes, allowing custom logic when switching views. Example. These controls enhance the interactivity and usability of ASP.NET webforms applications, enabling developers to create more responsive and organized web pages. Understanding their methods, properties, and events is essential for effective ASP.NET development. Login controls. In ASP.NET webforms, the login, create user wizard, and change password controls provide standard functionality for user authentication and management. Let's give an overview of each control, including their methods, properties, and events. Number 1. Login control. The login control facilitates user authentication by allowing users to enter their credentials, username, and password. It simplifies user authentication by providing an interface for users to enter their credentials, along with properties to manage the authentication process and feedback. Properties. Destination page URL. Gets or sets the URL of the destination page to which the user is redirected after successful login. Username label. Gets or sets the label text for the username input. Password label. Gets or sets the label text for the password input. Username required. Gets or sets a value indicating whether the username is required. Password required. Gets or sets a value indicating whether the password is required. Failure text. Gets or sets the text displayed when authentication fails. Methods. Validates the control values, though this is generally managed through the associated authentication provider. Events. Logged in. Occurs when the user has successfully logged in. Logged in error. Occurs when there is a failure log during login, allowing for custom error handling. Example. Number 2, create user wizard control. The create user wizard control provides a friendly interface for user registration, allowing users to create new accounts. It offers an easy to use interface for new users to create accounts with built-in support for validating input and managing the registration process. Properties. Finish text. Gets or sets the text displayed on the finish step button. Continue destination page URL. Gets or sets the URL to which the user is redirected after successful registration. Step next button text. Gets or sets the text for the next button on each step. Step previous button text. Gets or sets the text for the previous button. Username label. Gets or sets the label for username input. Password label. Gets or sets the label for password input. Email label. Gets or sets the label for email input. Methods. Create user. Programmatically creates a user account. Events. Created user occurs after a user has been successfully created, allowing for additional processing, as for example, sending a confirmation email. Create user error occurs when an error occurs during user creation, allowing custom error handling. Example. Number 3, change password control. The change password control allows existing user to change their password in a secure manner. It provides functionality for existing users to update their password securely, with events for handling post-change actions and errors. Properties. Old password label. Gets or sets the label for the old password input. New password label. Gets or sets the label for the new password input. Confirm new password label. Gets or sets the label for confirming the new password. Change password text. Gets or sets the text shown on the change password button. Success text. Gets or sets the message displayed when the password change is successful. Failure text. Gets or sets the message displayed if the password change fails. Methods. Change password. Programmatically changes the user's password. Events. Change password occurs when the password has been successfully changed, allowing for additional processing, as per example, notifying the user. Change password error occurs when there is an error during the password change process, allowing custom error handling. Example. Understanding these controls and their methods, properties, and events is vital for implementing user authentication and account management features effectively in ASP.NET Web Forms applications. Now we are going to write a program to solve a problem in the Visual Studio 2022. Write a program to calculate the monthly electric bill and show the individual load bill such as light, fan and AC, and total bill amount in a grid view as output, as shown in below. The following conditions are required to consider. Number 1. Loads are light, fan and AC with wattage of 40 watt, 70 watt and 200 watt respectively. Number 2. Average usage hours per day for each load is given as input. Number 3. Bill calculation rate has 3 slabs. Slab 1, 3 when total unit is less than 101. Slab 2, 3.5 when unit is greater than 100 and unit is less than 301. Slab 3. 5. When unit is greater than 300. Okay, let's run the Visual Studio 2022. Solution: electric bill with the project Pro Electric Bill is created. These are the required elements for this project. Default is the home page. These are the design code. This is the code behind. And this is the site master HTML design. On the basis of this page, we'll add another page. My intention through this program is to demonstrate the uses of some controls such as GridView, DataTable, DropDownList, Textbox, button, record field validator, and view state variable, as well as to be efficient in writing program. First of all, we need to design an interface where user will put required data. Let's design the UI. Need to create a page. This is our page on which we want to create the user interface. This is the page directive. Master page file will be site.master. This is the HTML and CSS code. We are not going to detail in this section. This label is taken for show the animations. The DropDownList DDL month is taken to show the month name. Now we'll take another DropDownList box for currency selection. Before that, we need to take a validation control to validate the drop-down selection. Now we have to take 3 text box with the label. Now we have to take the grid view control. Now we have finished the design part. Let's check the design. Unable to find the control ID GDL fan referenced by the control to validate property RFB fan. Okay, let's check. txt fan. Let's run again. In this project, default page is home page. This should be a startup. This is home page, and this is about page, about your application description page. This is contact page. These pages are previously designed by default with this template. Now we have to customize or change. First of all, we need to create a link for our page. We go to the menu. All the things are available in the site master. Site master is basically a HTML page. All the are including the HTML tag. This is the head, this is the body. In the head section, the required elements are. In the body section, these are the required script file link. This is the menu. Home, about, contacts. We need to create another link. Just copy and paste here and customize. Bill. This is the page name here. Our page is FRM bill. Copy. Paste. That's it. Okay, let's run. Bill. Click to bill. This is home. Application name, we need to change it. Application name. Electric bill calculation. If you want to change anything in the home page, you go to default.asp.fix. These are the required HTML code for home page. This code behind. This is our page, FM bill. Now we have to write code for backend functionality. Let's go to code behind page. This is the code behind page. Now we declare a data table. We need to place the namespace using system for data table dt for data table system.data namespace is essential. Now we will create the column heads in the data table. Column head name should be identical with the grid view. Okay, let's copy grid view. Now we declare view state variable. Now we assign the data table to a grid view. When the page will load, this code will execute it. But we want the code will execute only one times. That's why you need to set the condition. We know that each postback is a property of a page, and each postback get or set the false when the page load first time, and all the postback during all the postback, each postback is true. That's why this code will execute only one time. Now we will create a event handler of the submit button. This is the event handler of submit button. Each duplicate method will check the duplicate month name. Calculate bill method with the four parameters: month, light, fan, and AC will calculate the electric bill. Now we define the is duplicate method, then calculate bill method. That's it for is duplicate method. Now we'll write code for calculate bill. That's it, the calculate bill method. Exception handler. We have finished the coding part. Now I will check. Let's run the program. Go to the bill page, select the month. Let's say it's January. Select the currency USD dollar. Light, let's say the light was switched on 70 hours in a day. Fan is 22 hours. AC is 15 hours. Click on the submit button. This was the mistake. Rows.add. After defining the all rows, have to add the data table. Okay, let's run again.
Okay, let's run the program.
Value for currency is required. February. Duplicate month is not accepted. That is, February is already inputted. Let's try yourself and enjoy coding. In C#, a data table is a part of the ADO.NET framework that represents an in-memory table of data. It can be used to store data in a tabular format. with rows and columns. ADO.NET framework will be discussed in detail in upcoming episode. Here we added columns in DataTable as like GridView because data will be retrieved and inserted into GridView via DataTable. View state variable is declared to store data during postback. Is duplicate method check whether month name is duplicate or not. Unit for light in month variable is declared to store the value of total number of consumed unit for the light per month. What 40 is multiplied by hour and again multiplied by number of days in month. Finally, it is divided by 1000 to convert it to kilowatt hour. We know that 1 kilowatt hour is 1 unit. In similar way, others variable for fan AC. Here, total unit is calculated to sum of unit for light, fan, and AC. Total bill variable is declared to store the total bill and rate for the rate. Depending on the total number of consumed unit over the month, which is stored in the variable total unit in month, rate has been selected. Here's a very simple calculation. Total bill is calculated. Unit for light in month multiply rate. It's calculated bill for light. This portion is calculated for the bill for fan. This portion is for AC. And some of these are stored in the total bill. Before adding new row to the data table, previously stored any data in the view state variable is assigned to the data table. New row is created in the data table. Light bill is assigned to this column, fan bill, AC bill, and total bill. Newly created row with data is added to the data table. Data table is again assigned to the view state variable so that after postback data are shown in the grid view, because when the postback is happened, the grid view is initialized to blank, but a view state variable can sustain the value. Data table is assigned to the grid view in order to show the value. Clear text method is called to clear the all text box. This is the is duplicate method. Here check the grid view is blank or not. If the blank is return the false. If the grid view contains the row, then this portion will be executed. Here grid view first column, first cell, that is month, is checked with the is compared with the value. If the value is identical or equal, then it return true and break the loop and return the result. That's it, the code. Try yourself and enjoy coding.